Yeah. So the first time in a long time, I was in a Zoom meeting and I heard that noise, the badup badup from your phone, and I thought I didn't think that was a thing anymore. But apparently it is. Hi, Dave.
Hi, good evening, Sean.
Evening. How's it going?
Things are going good.
Things going good?
Uh, yeah, as good as they can be. How's things going with you?
Same, like as good as it can be. Like I'm losing. I don't know where I am. I'm like nothing. I really don't know. So I'm glad that we are playing games on a Tuesday because it's a nice thing that happens regularly every week, and there's not many of those anymore. So, like, this is good, and we're playing Noita
Yes.
tonight.
So every week Sean and I choose a different game to stream most of the time. We've done some
Yeah.
longer series and so on and so forth.
Hmm.
But I was pleasantly surprised for
Yeah.
you to do something that hadn't really occurred to me to do.
Yeah.
And then when you've done it, it seems really obvious was for us to play a game on stream that the other one played.
Yeah. Hmm.
Like we don't really take turns. We're not very good at turn
Yeah.
taking. Well, we are every
We
week. I
did that
suppose we take
Splunky. Do you
turns.
remember? We did that with Splunky.
Oh, good point. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Um. Yeah. So I kind of fell into Noita. I wasn't gonna play
Uh-huh.
Noita, and then so I listened to a game design podcast called the Splunky Show. Like I should have a look at the name of the podcast because it's really really good, and I know that
Uh-huh.
a few of people who listen and watch are into game design. It is the Splunky Show like,
Oh,
and
nice. See
yeah,
what they did there.
yeah, it's really good. They're not actually anything to do with Splunky, but they
Hmm.
use kind of roguelites and games like Splunky to talk about game design. I think one of the people is a lecturer in game design in America. Um, anyway, they're going into a deep dive with Noita and the game design of Noita, which has been really interesting, and that's made me want to play Noita. So, and you played it, you checked it out when it had just come out in early access. Like I think it was, we looked at it the week it came out,
Hmm.
and that was sometime in the past that I can't remember. So it's been out for a while now in early access. I think
Yeah.
like it's not been a year. It's probably been 6 months, maybe.
Okay.
Maybe I don't know. I don't know if you're anywhere
It
near.
feels like it could be that long ago that I played Noita.
Yeah. It
Let me take a check while you
mhm.
chat us through.
So I'm going to check it out. So what's interesting is when Dave checked it out when it first came out, the
Hmm.
only mode was this new game mode, but now they've added a bunch of stuff. So they've added a
Ooh.
daily run, which is kind of a daily run that's on a fixed seed.
Hmm.
It's interesting
Hmm.
things about a daily run. We will come to the daily run. Um, I tell you what, we'll start with the daily run, and I'll talk about why that's interesting. So there's a daily run
Okay.
which is interesting. There's a nightmare mode, which I haven't unlocked, so I need to complete the game, and then there's like some other coming soon mode. So I'm going to do a daily run. The daily
Sure.
run is so it's based on your system clock, interestingly, which means you can change your clock and get tomorrow's
Ha!
today,
Really?
and you can get yesterday's today, which is kind of interesting because
Uh-huh.
like because it's an early access that possibly that's something they were going to add, that they're going to fix it. It's
Hmm.
quite hard to make something. I'm pretty sure I'm making it home you can do that as well. I didn't. It wasn't until I found out that people are using this. People are using the system clock to kind of control the seed.
Hmm.
Because sometimes a lot of these games, like you can enter a seed, and then so we can do the same game. So you can play it next week and set your clock to now, and then play this. But you have unlimited tries. Okay, so
Okay. Hmm.
um, so Noita, if you don't know, let's go in, and I was playing this game. Oh man, like when Joe first saw this game, she was like, that looks like a kind of game you would make. And
Nice.
it
Thanks,
is
Joe.
it's
That's a high
absolute
compliment.
yeah in because this is like a big cellular autonomous simulation. So there's a bunch of stuff going
I
on,
know
and
some of those words.
yeah, we can talk specifics about the
Hmm.
simulation as well when we get into it.
Hmm.
But their kind of tagline is every pixel is simulated,
Hmm.
and we'll see how that goes in a minute. In fact, before I go down though, like the daily run, so like when you do a normal run, you always have the same starting ones, but with a daily run, you get a different one. So I've got a flask of lava I started with, and a firebolt and some energy sphere thing. So yeah, so if you can see, okay, you saw the water there moving. So this is, what's this? Oil. So there's oil there, and there's fire above the oil.
Yes.
So I couldn't do it. But okay, so I started burning this wood, and that's being simulated.
Yeah.
And the physics of that is being simulated, and how these materials all interact with each other is being simulated.
Yay, simulation.
Yeah, simulation. And it's a really interesting, like, everything about this. There's so much interesting design stuff here. Some more oil down here. I'm like got oil all over the place.
Just before I forget, Sean, we played Noita back in October 2019.
Wow.
So not that long ago.
No.
But a fair old whack. So yeah, so it's been obviously they've added quite a bit of stuff since then.
So I just set this big oil pit on fire, and that's now burning. And so this is so like I'm really, the reason I'm into games and game design, like my jam is emergent systems. Like it's always. So, do you know what an emergent system is?
I do, but why don't you tell the people at home?
Why don't I tell the people at home what an emergent system is? An emergent system is a system that is made up of simple rules, but those very simple rules end up giving like really complex behavior. So you get really, really complex behavior out of some very, very simple rules. So for example, the water here. Actually, let's go for an easy one. Right, this pile of coal. What's quite nice is I can mouse over any pixel, and the game in the top here tells me what material it is. So like, right, this coal here.
Yeah.
The way you model this coal is there's just squares. So everything's pixels.
Yeah.
Imagine we had coal falling down. It would check to see. It would check below it. If there isn't any coal below me, move down a pixel. If there is coal below me, stop. Check if I can move left or right. If I can move left, if I can do one of those things, do one of those things. Then you check, is there coal below me? If there's not coal below me, I go down. That's the entire rule set for most of the materials in this game, actually. And that basically appears to be like sand. Now, and that's where you get this kind of 45-degree angle. Basically, because the coal moves left, goes down, and then can't go any further. Water, like I think there's an extra rule which is like keep going left until you hit something, basically. So you get that thing going on. So, and those rules are pretty much it. And then you can do it. So it's very simple rules. Like I look around, I move, and yet you get these massively complex systems going on. And so what they've added here as well, so they've got all this kind of like fluidy sand simulation, and they've added a thing where like if I jump into the water, it throws some I can't splash there, but like if I jump on the ground here, see it's throwing these particles up.
Oh yeah.
So it's doing, and those are like look, they're not just they're not particle effect, that's not fake. There are like actual little
that's actual grass you're standing on.
Yeah, it's actual grass. These particles are actually landing in things. Like the mud is sinking into this water that's disturbing the surface, and it's okay. But then they did something which is so cool and crazy, and is that they added rigid bodies as well. So what goes on here is that a collection of particles like this thing I kicked in there. The game every frame is detecting those, meshing them into triangles, and then simulating them as rigid bodies. And then the game simulates the rigid bodies, and then simulates all the kind of sand, water, pixel stuff, and then keeps looping. And that's where you get these crazy, like, all this stuff going on. There's also, like, this system of liquids, and the fact that I am now covered in oil. I'm oiled, which makes me slippery and more flammable. Okay, so like I'm not going to be using my fire wand for a bit, but I can wash myself off in the water, and that's the game. And then it's a roguelike. So like
then
there's actually game it like, and so like they built the system like they built the system without a game in mind, which is like like they just built the system and then they're like, well, how do we make this into a game? Interestingly, one of the ideas that they tried was a building game, but they eventually settled on this roguelike. And it like it's what's really interesting is like how it sounds right when you hit when I say this to you, like every pixel simulated. But look at those guys. Oh man, do I? Every pixel simulated. That's great. That'll be amazing. That's got to be fun. But making that so like restraining it so it's fun is the kind of like that's the challenge.
Yeah, I mean it's like you say, it's not.
Oh god.
It's not what I initially think of as a game concept. It's a really cool. It's a really cool concept, but it's not like, oh, I could immediately see how that would be a game. You have to kind of, you have to kind of add that, and I can see that's. I didn't realize that about the order of their development. They came up with this concept and implemented it before they had a game. But that makes total sense. I can see that now. Dave Soft said some stuff in chat that you might chime a little bit better with you than me. But he said if you used powder toy much.
Yeah. Oh yes. So that's basically this.
Okay.
It's a cellular. I guess it's kind of a cellular automator. I guess it's got so cellular autonomer is a simulation that, as far as I know, I could be wrong about this. A simulation that where you've got cells basically.
Okay.
So this is a cellular simulation. Look at the oil floating on them. So that's kind of what's going on here. And so cellular autonomer, and so like I think Powder Simulator, correct me if I'm wrong, Dave Soft, is like basically a sandbox of this stuff.
Okay.
But this is kind of like there's a game, I can't remember the name of it. I think it's a Finnish game. I think this game is Finnish, where it was kind of like where worms, like the precursor to worms in a lot of ways, where it was like worms but in kind of this kind of simulation. But like this was back when I was in school,
Sure.
I remember playing that a lot, and it's got a lot of like you can see a lot of that game in this. If you go back to that kind of really, it was kind of like I guess tanks or like it was kind of an artillery game. Oh, so this is like the gas going. So the gas is just the same but modeled in reverse. Right, so it's like liquid, except liquid it goes up. Like, I'm slippery and covered in oil. That's toxic gas. Probably shouldn't go in there.
So, yeah, okay. So, like, obviously, we're going to be talking a lot about systems a bit more tonight than anything else. But for those people who are just kind of tuning in and maybe have never seen Noita before. Like we've been a bit dismissive and said, oh, it's just a roguelike. But what are you actually trying to do? Like what is, other because you're going to get excited about a lot of stuff. That's not to do with what you're really trying to do, right?
So I'm trying to, I guess I'm just trying to progress. And there's kind of there's an interesting thing. Well, I want to talk about that actually, because so something that they realize with this system is that, and it kind of makes sense when you think about it. So this is a big simulation, and it's and like most things, the state it wants to get to is everything crumbled to the ground, right?
Okay.
Like if you build something, like it wants to fall down, right? Like
sure.
The kind of natural way of things is to. Well, I could use lava to get down here. Does that make sense? Does that actually make sense? Like,
well, I guess so. My first question is like, if the simple behavior is that every particle wants to go down, why do you get why do you get floating platforms?
well, because I like at some point they've constrained it, right? So they've added this rock that doesn't have gravity, that I guess you in your head is kind of stuck to the back of the wall.
Okay.
But then everything else just kind of wants to fall down, and so their design kind of like went with that, and so you're very much encouraged in this game to go down.
So that which lends itself very naturally to roguelikes.
Yeah.
You know, you've seen that in Spelunky, you've seen it in other roguelikes. I mean, Dead Cells is not quite the same, is it? That's a bit more.
It's Dead Cells. Well, Dead Cells. Yes, but Dead Cells is a roguelike, isn't it? It's Dead Cells. You kind of tend to go horizontally.
Yes.
Well, lots of and Spelunky, you don't necessarily. You kind of naturally do find yourself going down, but you don't. Have
a lot
to
of down in Spelunky. Yeah.
Yeah. Whereas here,
I mean, that's also caving. Like that makes sense.
Yeah,
too,
yeah,
right?
it's cool.
Like,
Yeah, exactly. Oh, so here's a wand. I'm just going to grab it.
Spelunky.
Why not?
Dave Self says you're right, and the cells have a very short range called a neighborhood. A more neighborhood is just one cell super fast simulation.
Yeah. Yes. So is it Newman? There's like more neighborhoods and I can't remember now. So I actually just one of my students is doing there's a thing called Sugarscape, which I'm kind of obsessed with. I always offer it as a project. It's really interesting. So it was a cellular autonomous model of a society.
Okay.
That started out with it's kind of think about intelligent design in a way. It started out as these little started out as little creatures who all they care about is eating sugar, and then over time they added all these extra things, and to the point where the little creatures could actually trade with each other, and a whole stock market emerged in this little simulation. And so I've been trying to get, but it was done so long ago that they couldn't. Crap. They didn't have great computers, so they couldn't do. So I'm gonna use some more of my. So my project is always hey, can you make this better? Or do this on modern hardware? Can you simulate this on lots of stuff? Look at that fire. So yeah, that's kind of it. That's a cellular autonomous model.
I bet the day they discovered fire in the Noita office was a pretty good day, right?
Yeah, it's
it's
something about this. It looks incredible, and I think that's what I like about this kind of. They didn't make this. They didn't design this behavior. It just emerged. And it somehow has the qualities that convinces you. We talk a lot about affordances, right? Oh, here we go. So I've got some holy mountain. So affordances are kind of ways that a game can use something that you know about. Not just games. Affordances are everywhere, but for us, it's a way of can we use something that you know about in your real life, like for example, that things fall down, right? And the rate. We all have this kind of inbuilt instinct of how fast things move to the floor. So these in games, things fall down at around that speed, and so it's an affordance. It's making you feel more connected to what's going on. So yeah, and so this all this modeling just kind of is brimming with affordances. So I've got to this is the in-between worlds of stages, and now I've got I can spend some money. So what have I got here? And again, I'm doing the daily run, so normally this is random. Well, it is random.
How many map screens, shall we say, is in a daily then?
It's the whole game. It's the whole game.
Oh, it's the whole game.
Yeah, it's a whole game, but it's just one seed of the game.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
I was about to say, what makes it a daily run?
Yeah, so it's the one random seed. So I can. So this is now spells I can purchase for my wand. So I've got Explosion of Brimstone. Explosion sounds good. Slime Ball.
Sure does.
Formation. Explosion, which is 50% off, and Glittering Field. What should I go for, Dave?
I'm always a sucker for a bargain, so I think take the 50%.
I feel
off.
that is what we do. So I'm going to purchase that. I've got enough money for something else. I'm going to get the Formation just to show people what that does. So then, this is the only chance you get to edit your spells. Ooh. I'm going to fill this one up here. So basically what you've got here is
this is like a programming
it's
one.
very
right?
much like a programming. Yeah, it's got a programming feel. So this one doesn't shuffle, which means it'll go through these things in order, whereas my other ones do shuffle and they will go through randomly. Which is interesting because this bifurcation, what that will do is once that one, the one behind it, will fire off in that pattern. So we'll see how that goes. So I can try them here. So eventually one does the bifurcation, but it's random, so I don't know when that's going to happen. I kind of am a bit scared to do my explosion of explosions. Oh god, it explodes. Okay. So it damages me. But we'll see how that goes. So I need to be careful and remind me not to equip that one. Then I get to pick a perk. So I've got fast swimming, all-seeing eye, and boomerang spells. What should I don't want the fast swimming sounds a bit boring.
All-seeing eye sounds pretty good.
Yeah, but boomerang sounds pretty chaotic, which I kind of like. So I'm going to go with that one. Almost all your spells arc towards you. You have a higher projectile resistance. Okay. Oh, look at that! That's so cool. So what I quite like about that design is you don't get the description until after you've picked it.
Which is, I mean, that's interesting because we're in beta for a game we're developing, and one of the things that I think is inevitable with any type of feedback for a game, not just our games, although we are perhaps a bit guilty of making our games a little opaque.
Yeah.
Is that people want to know anything that we don't give them. They're like, I would like to know this.
Yeah.
I want to know what this does. I don't want to know what that does. And we were just, before we came on stream, talking about how much this very thing, how much information is okay to give the player. How much do they really want? Like, they say they want it, but do they really want it?
Yeah. Well,
you know, do you really need to know certain things?
So there's kind of a reason that it's acceptable in this game, or like, well, not that it's not acceptable in our game. We need to, like, when is it okay to do that? And I think the reason it's in this game, the runs, it's instant death, and so like they designed it specifically. Like when it doesn't matter because you always, if you die, you just try again. I guess it's about that feeling of, can I experiment? And that's what we've often come down to, right? Is do you feel like you're allowed to experiment? Like, I know, like, so the other thing, the decision with this daily run, I can try it as many times as I want. Like, that's a design decision that, like, means that it doesn't matter if I don't know what those things are. It's not like this is my only chance, you know?
Yeah.
Otherwise, that would feel pretty crummy.
Yes. I suppose that's a benefit of roguelite and light games.
Yes.
Is the speed of the run.
God, this guy looks pretty serious.
Our game does that too.
Yeah.
And other vehicle building games do as well.
But I sometimes wonder if people realised it did it. Okay, this boomerang thing might be a bit
of a faff.
That's lava. Let's try this one. Oh.
It doesn't seem great.
Well, I suppose I could try and, like, drop some lava down and maybe make myself an escape route. Oh, they blew up a hole, so now I'm going to try and escape by going down.
It's the classic thing, isn't it? Like, it sounds like it... Ooh, there we go. Sounds like it'd be good, but...
The boomerang.
Not all boomerangs. Yeah, not all boomerangs work out.
So I want to talk about the death screen here.
Okay.
Because there's a bit of illusion in this game. And, like, all games have illusions in, so... Well, all games... So there's this whole thing about the illusion of does the game world exist without you being there?
Okay.
Right? And so something... they do here is they let the game run in the background even though you're dead. To really sell that, the idea that this game exists without you, like that this is all, you're just part of the simulation, right? So I could do it. So I could do another daily run, and then I'd have the same thing.
Same speed. Yeah.
I think I'll go to new game. I just wanted to show you that. So it can be a bit weird when it loads games. So let me know if there's any problem with the stream. It kind of like reboots the game every time you load a new game. So let me know if you seeing that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Okay. So now you can see I've only got like these two, the starter ones and my water. Yeah. Let's go again. I can also kick things. Yeah.
It's really funny how little tutorialization it gives you. Like I guess again, roguelikes can get away with this because, like you say, simple rules.
Yeah.
Generating complex systems.
Also, it's early access.
Yeah.
Like, but go on. What were you? Sorry, I interrupted you.
Well, one of the things that it's interesting, like I suppose, to right at the start, like you're given very minimal amounts of information, which is fine. Like that's ideal, isn't it? You don't want all the information right at the start. The most complicated system I seem to remember for this is the wands.
Yeah.
Because the idea of the wands as programmable is like there are no really natural affordances for that. You're talking about affordances. It's like, well, everyone knows that wands get programmed, Dave.
Yeah.
Like that's not the case, right? Like it's quite an abstract jump or a conceptual jump. So, I mean, I think you and I feel this way a lot about like feedback, which is always useful and really helpful and very much appreciated. Is that it's easy to find examples of games that don't do what someone's asking you to do in any given feedback, right? And people kind of they care a bit, but they don't really care about stuff as much in gameplay mode as they do maybe in feedback mode.
Yes, I was about
Right.
Oh shit, that was the wrong thing. Oh god.
which is totally understandable and can be extremely helpful in a lot of different ways. But you're like,
it's our job to understand that, right?
Yes, yeah, and I think sometimes that can kind of feel like people are just willing to go with something if it's cool or if they're enjoying it.
But that's
like, I think that's something we all do a lot.
Yeah.
It's like I don't need to know exactly how XYZ works if I'm enjoying it and finding out.
Yeah, like remember I was saying like we played Mountain Blade.
Oh yeah.
Like Mountain Blade is janky as like it's like some grade A jank. But I will put up with it because it's so enjoyable. And I can't even particularly put into words why the game is enjoyable, but it is. And I think this is similar, right? I think that's a question, like, and sometimes that there's another one. It's an arrow. I quite like the arrows.
I remember you saying like it's the rough edges of Mountain Blade that you enjoy.
Yeah.
Like if it was perfect and polished, you might not enjoy that game as much.
Yeah.
And I suppose that then becomes, especially for indie developers, it becomes a question of which rough edges are a positive thing, or which rough edges will our players live with, and grow to love, I suppose, as well.
Yeah. And it's all about like, well, what does it do? What do those rough edges do to the player experience? And if they have a negative effect, that's it really. Like, what did I pick up?
I guess there's also a problem, like
Berserking.
something that you and I have experienced and are kind of interested in just from a concept level as well, which is, there's a tendency for indie developers to say, that's how we wanted it to work. So when someone's writing a negative review or giving some feedback or whatever and says like, I don't like when this happens, it's often the case with indie developers, especially early on in the kind of indie developer player interactions. They were, with some fairly famous cases, they were very quick to say, well, you're just not getting it, or this is what this experience that you're finding frustrating, that's exactly what I want, that's exactly what I want you to do. And I think it's an interesting relationship between creator and user in that space.
And it is tricky because in some cases, I know some of the feedback we've got, it's because in some points in games, part of what you want to do is make people frustrated. And it's like a balance. There's some point you're like, well, if you didn't feel frustrated, then this wouldn't be a meaningful encounter. But but then is frustration a good emotion? It's really hard, isn't it? It's such a weird thing because, oh no, I just died, right? So clearly that's. But then I felt that was my fault.
Yeah, that kind of frustration in games, challenges in games, those kind of ideas, they are really complex emotionally. One thing I think this is the same kind of thing and maybe slightly simplifies the concept, perhaps, is that we talk about board game quite a bit. Cooperative board games.
Yeah.
If you're the kind of person that can't handle losing at a game, then cooperative board games are not a sensible way to spend your time, right? Because if you could never lose a cooperative board game, it becomes an awful experience. If you always win any given, then it stops being a challenge. It stops being a game.
I had a friend who, when we played Pandemic with him the first time, he was like, we got to the point where we lost for whatever reason. I think we ran out of cards. It was that we ran out of cards one.
Yeah.
And he was like, why don't we just put some more cards in? What? What are you talking about? No. Yeah.
So I find that it's a really interesting thing. Is something challenging? Is it challenging in a satisfying way or an unsatisfying way? And how do you manage the difference between the two? I find it. I think in a lot of respects, for a lot of different kinds of games, it's really interesting how you measure that and manage it.
I just want to see the world burn. I'm not.
I don't know, maybe, because this is just the first part of this game. They've definitely added more enemies since we played last.
Yeah?
I don't remember those floating goo guys. Toxic monsters, by the looks of it.
Oh, this is going to go bad.
Yeah.
Oh no. They bleed like toxic sludge.
Just like an alien. Just everything simulated. I guess it's all interesting, isn't it? And I think as long as you're fair to players, I think that's the key thing. Then I don't know, but some games I suppose deliberately aren't fair. What is fair? Yeah. I think that like with a lot of stuff to do with my students and writing as well. I think there's a sense of, if a game is doing something deliberately, a player is probably more willing to kind of go with it, to excuse it or whatever. And so I was one thing that just made me think about it when you were saying about games being frustrating and what that's like. You remember that game Getting Over It?
Yeah.
Or Get Over It? Yeah.
It's interesting because the what's his name? someone Foddy.
Yeah.
Benedict. He's actually one of the people he's a guest. He's on that podcast.
Oh, is he? Okay,
He's
cool.
talking through this game. What's that? Like, I don't know what this thing is. What do I do? Do I just throw it?
Okay.
I don't know what that did. Oh, I'm not going to survive very much longer.
So, I mean, I only bring that up really because it's a game that's deliberately, like, it owns the fact that it's frustrating. That's the point of the game, right? Like, the point of it is to understand why games are frustrating. And that's a really easy, obvious example of that that phenomenon of, like, if you do something that normally is something we don't want, but you do it deliberately, it can become
5 health. Yeah.
Nice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You can break a kind of quote unquote rule for benefit.
Okay, I've got. Oh, so now someone. I heard that if I switch. Oh, but
you heard? Oh, is this on your podcast?
What?
Pro strat tips.
Yeah, pro strat tips is that this one is better than this one. So if you swap the spells over, put your bombs where you don't need the high. So like this is cast delay 17 seconds. This one's cast delay 8 seconds.
So yeah, this is quite a lot of info, right, about a wand. Like most of the time, you just spam the button for like it's like we've been, as I said, deciding on how much information to give to a player at any one time. That is a lot of information.
Look at that. You see, that's a lot faster, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, this is cool. Look at there's a flaming fire coming off this one. Like that's. I know that one's fast, but this one's got fire coming off it. Like, I'm gonna... Homing shots. Stainless armor. Perk lottery.
Ooh.
Oh, but that sounds pretty good, doesn't it? Like...
That's a classic kind of, like, you could have door number A, B, or C.
I wonder if that means I get perks, like... What does that mean? Do my perks...
It's like...
I'm gonna have to... When you pick a perk, there's a 50% chance the others won't disappear.
Ooh.
So that's an interesting one. I'm not going to benefit from that until I get to the next one.
Yeah.
So I'm going to have to like book it, I think.
Delayed gratification.
Yeah, I'm just going to try and go down as quick as I can. God, not these guys.
They're a bit easier when your shots aren't rebounding back towards you.
Yeah.
Boomerang.
But they give off this sludge that there's all this gunpowder there. Also, when you're covered in blood, you have a higher chance to crit, which I think is kind of crazy.
Do you have a higher chance of being critiqued?
I don't know.
So what do you know what else is left to be added to Noita? Do you know what else they've...
No. I don't know.
Coming?
Oh god. No.
What would you like to see in Noita?
I don't like this. That I'm not sure. I necessarily need. I don't know. Like I don't know. To me, it's already perfect. Like I just.
Ship it.
Yeah, shit. Well, they have. But yeah, I don't like. I don't know. Like, I just really enjoy it. Like, it's just watching the physics happen, and the controls are satisfying. Like, it just feels good to play as well. I think that's the impressive thing is that they made. Like, I mean, I would have just played with the sandbox without even bothering it with... Oh god, that's not good. Without even bothering with, like, any kind of progression. I didn't...
Yeah.
Or game, you know, like, I don't... I didn't necessarily need that. I just would have enjoyed playing with this. But, well, or would I? Like, it's probably something I think I would have enjoyed playing. But, like, here, I just want to stay here and watch and see what happens. Because, like, this coal is holding up this water.
Yeah.
So when that goes, is that going to put the fire out?
Tune in next week.
Yeah.
On coal, fire, water.
Oh, you don't have to wait that long, Dave. It's only going to be a few seconds. Yeah. So, like, what could we, like, I suppose, like, trying to think now, what kind of stuff can we learn from this design? Like, why does this work? A really deep question that has no real answer.
Well, one thing that jumps out to me, given what you're talking about in terms of the order in which the development of Noita happened, is that they're considering a really cool idea. And they found a really cool idea and they ran with it. And then they strapped a classic game. Well, I guess classic is classic fair. I don't know.
Yeah.
A very easily recognizable game to it.
Yeah.
Right? And I think, because you and I have had quite a few different discussions about, like, what making it at home is, and, like, what kind of game it is, and what kind of player experience we want, and so on and so forth. And you'd think that was, like, the first thing we'd have figured out.
I've got sorry, but, like, I've got a bouncy ball with a flame coming off it. Like, that's pretty cool. Yes, like, I feel like, because we often, like, I think, give ourselves a hard time with that. And, like, you often think, I guess in your mind it's like this, you think, oh, well, surely this is the wrong way of doing it.
Yeah.
Like, you should have your design doc. Get a big design doc and plan the whole game out before you start.
You should at the very least know what genre it is.
Well, maybe we did. I'm sorry, I'm getting a bit warm. I'm going to take my jumper off. Did we, like, I feel like sometimes we came back round to the genre.
Yeah.
No, really, we initially said we want to make a building game. And we made a building game, Dave.
Yeah, we did. We got a little sidetracked with some platforming.
Yeah. Excuse me. Right.
And I think that's partly, like, some people have, so with our early beta testers and some newer beta testers as well, have kind of given us this kind of feeling of, well, the feedback has often been like, I haven't seen anything quite like this before. And I'm not suggesting, like, making it home is a totally unique Snowflake, but just that platforming plus building vibe. There's something about what we've done there that is quite unusual, and that got us initially a bit worried. Like, it's great being, different and unique and special until it's not. Right?
Until you want to sell it. Like, that's like
until you try to tell people what you're selling. Yeah. Then they're like, oh, it's like this thing with this thing, and you add that thing, and people have already moved on to something else.
Yeah,
so
it's like such and such meets X. On crack.
These enemies are definitely harder, and it definitely look good.
Well, I got into the, like, snowy bit there, so, like, I was a bit further down.
I got quite far in this, Sean. Let's not say that's the reason. I think they've added quite a few new enemies, and I think they look really cool.
Yeah,
but they're also quite challenging.
So what is the genre? So this is, like you said, they've got that key genre that it's like, it's a roguelike. So these are the people who made this made Baba Is You and Crown Physics.
Oh, I didn't realise it was Baba Is You.
Yeah,
the same folks. Okay, cool.
And something else. Like, so this is not their first rodeo, is what? Like,
okay, yeah, fair enough.
Again, that is something else to put it into context. These, this is, like, very talented game designers, obviously. Like sometimes, I think sometimes with, like, indies, people are like, oh wow, they just came from nowhere. But like, it's just because indies don't have overly recognizable names. Like, you have to be told, oh, they're the people that made X. Yeah. Also, this gifts well, right? Presumably. The trade is really interesting.
Is it? Yeah.
Yeah, I think, like, because we're kind of thinking about making a trade. We're trying to tell people, well, defeating that explosiony fire monster.
Fire skull.
Yeah.
We have a trailer. I mean, as with most trailers, it's a placeholder until the next trailer comes along. And especially during early in development, right? Because gosh, we have like a ton of features that just weren't around in the game when we first made our trailer, and we now want to show people what those features are and the fact that they're in the game and so on and so forth. So like trailers have to be an iterative process until right up until launch, really. I mean, even then
you're going to keep making
Exactly. These days, like the life cycle of a game is so much beyond its launch, right?
God. Oil. Yeah.
So we're thinking about the next iteration of the Making It Home trailer and trying to like plan that out and storyboard it and figure out what we want people to be able to see, but also the kind of feeling we want to leave people with. And a good starting point for that, of course, is GIFs. Is the kind of GIFs that we use, as do most indie studios or most studios will start. We use GIFs for promotion. We're on Twitter gifing the game loads. So like that gives us a bank of clips, I suppose, that we can see if people have responded to, and the small numbers that we expect to get responses.
Yeah.
And so on and so forth. So like that's what we're doing with that. So we've got trailers on the brain, basically, haven't we?
Mm-hmm. And so the trailer for this, I think, is kind of interesting because what does that do?
Do the fun shop stuff, and then we'll talk.
Yeah, returns. The only thing I can afford, but like, after a period of time, you'll be returned to where you cast this spell.
Nice.
That sounds like kind of nuts.
I remember our last stream of this ended with me doing something very odd with teleport. Was it every time I took damage I teleported?
Yes. Yeah. So let's try that one. I'm going to cost a bomb, so I won't do that. Right. Repelling cape, worm attractor, fast swimming. I think repelling cape because the other two sound kind of boring. Stains drop at a fast rate when moving. Something I would say is like, it's an interesting thing with this kind of system of perks. Because there's definitely some perks that I'm really excited about seeing, like the one you just said.
Yeah.
So there's an interesting question about balancing this game. In that you won your first game because you got that perk and just lucked into it.
Yeah.
Right? And that's somehow okay. And I'm not upset about that. Like, do you know what I mean? Like,
I do.
But also, I'm kind of like, part of me is like, I really want one of those cool, crazy perks soon because I think they're fun.
Yeah.
I
suppose what it is an aspect of roguelites and likes. I suppose probably even more with light, because you can carry things over in roguelites, whereas roguelikes you don't.
Oh shit.
That you don't want to go near that gunpowder with that fire on you. Is that the runs are quick enough and chaotic enough that you accept things that are unbalanced or imbalanced, should I say.
What does balanced even mean?
Well, quite.
Yeah.
You know what?
That
balanced,
thing.
Chess is balanced.
Yeah.
Like that's the thing, isn't it? Like we think we want the illusion of balance in most games.
Holy crap! That's like a trail of lava. Of one of these. Sorry, I got excited. Oh,
yeah.
Flipping flip. I've come back into the fire.
Gunpowder pit.
Sorry, balance.
Yeah, right. So, I mean, actually, balance is a really good example of something we were trying to articulate earlier, which is that idea of frustration in games. Like when it's okay to be frustrated, when it's not okay. And balance talks really, I think, about the contract that you enter into with the player, which is really different for all kinds of different games. But there's part of the gaming experience has found that players don't really enjoy imbalance or perceived imbalance.
Yeah.
Like they enjoy it in various guises and in various ways, but in a lot of others they don't. It's really really esoteric and really like fascinating. Like so, the way I feel about like roguelite and light in terms of balance is that because you've got the perception of randomness, like with those perks are random, or like scarecrow's random, right? You get 3, and etc. etc. Because of that, and because like the core game loop is this idea that no one run is like another.
Yeah.
It's okay if like every now and again you get the absolutely ridiculous thing, and then in other runs you don't.
Yeah.
Whereas games that are a bit more static, like a complex card game or an RTS or whatever, like in an RTS, if one unit is just better than the others, that leads to a negative play experience.
And particularly because you're playing against other people.
Yeah,
I suppose like the thing as well is to make it so that I don't quit the game. And we often say this of like, if the numbers don't come in my favour and I don't get that, there's one perk I need to get, and if I don't, like in Spelunky, a lot of people maybe say they can only do a certain run with, they can only do a certain run with the jetpack is the one that everyone says is like a really crucial thing. Oh my, look at my health.
I suppose you're always going to get like min-maxes, but I imagine they probably don't gravitate towards roguelikes as much as other genres anyway.
Yeah.
Because this is a really hard thing to min-max, right? Like it's just too chaotic. It's too.
But people have with this, right? So people talk about things like the design of the wands, programming wands, and the best way to do it. But like, I'm just like, whatever. I'll just pick this wand up. That seems like the most chaotic. Yeah. What on earth is this?
There are definitely other ways of playing this game than the way you and I play it. Definitely.
Yeah.
I think that's fair to say.
I'm going to go back to the daily. I feel like the daily was a bit more forgiving. So the daily changes it because then you know what's coming?
Kinda, right? Yeah. But I mean, you might explore different. Yeah, but you might have explored different parts of the map in different things, and then it's on you to remember it, right?
Yeah. Did you go left when you played?
I did.
So I went
there
left.
wasn't there. Yeah, wow. But it's is there something else there now?
Maybe there is.
Ooh.
Maybe there is. It seems to be kind of random whether or not it appears. I've got lava, so that's going to help me out.
Okay.
So.
This is definitely new.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This I really appreciate.
Oh, you can drown in this game.
Yeah.
Sean, you're drowning.
I'm okay, can we? Okay. And then there's this thing.
Nice.
Yeah. So normally you can't get back, but I'm wondering now, is the lava? No. So I'm gonna die now.
Nice.
Yeah.
There must have been a ton of times where different streamers or beta testers were, I'm going to check out going left, and then they realised that actually they should.
There probably was. I wonder if there was, because it doesn't always appear there, because sometimes it's raining and that fills up.
Okay.
Depending on the random seed.
I mean, I'd have to go back and look at the VODs, but I'm pretty
We
sure
definitely
when I
went
went
left, didn't we? It was really
Yeah,
interesting
and
because, like, when I was playing, I didn't go left, I didn't go left, I didn't go left, and I spawned in one version of the game, and there was just an item off to the left, and I was like, there was like an item around here somewhere, and I just ended up going left. So
no, there was definitely just like a massive cliff when I went left. But I don't think I ever got to some water.
So when I think about balance, I always think about Cosmic Encounter.
Oh yeah.
Because that game is like deliberately unbalanced. But everyone has an unbalanced power, which means it kind of works.
Yeah.
I've always wondered if you could apply that to a computer game. That concept.
Well, I think a lot of computer games do, like, right? Like, I guess for Cosmic Encounter, the question is, could you, like imagine, I don't know, an arena shooter game where everyone gets it's like a PUBG type thing, right? Where everyone gets a really unbalanced weapon.
So do you want to explain what Cosmic Encounter is?
So Cosmic Encounter is a board game where basically every player gets a different faction, different kind of alien race.
Yeah.
And that faction has their rules break something about the game.
Yeah.
You know, in the vast majority of cases, they just break something. Like the actual board game's a bit more complicated to actually go through.
Yeah, you don't. That's all you need to know, isn't it?
But
Really?
that's what you need to know. Yeah, like so. Like imagine like I don't know, Fortnite, I suppose, or PUBG, where every player has a weapon that breaks some system.
Yeah.
In the game.
So what's interesting about Cosmic Encounter, where another way they fix that issue, I think, is that so it's kind of like a it's kind of like a war game, I guess. What would it like? It's a you know you're attacking other players. That's what you need to know. And but it's like you can't play as 2-player, even though they're bringing out a Cosmic Encounter Duel.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, we're definitely going to get that when that comes out. So anyway, that guy had acid blood. That's
and died and spawned acid babies.
Yes. You can't pick who you attack. It's random every turn. So it kind of makes it okay to be unbalanced because, like, I didn't pick to kill you.
Yeah.
And then what you have choices is you can then ally with people, and so you can decide whether or not to ally with someone. I love that game. It's easily one of my favorite games, board games. What did I buy last time? I bought the 50% off, didn't I?
You did. The formation.
Yeah. Try the slime. I don't think I want any of this. Let's save my money. But I am
save your money.
Swap. I think this is probably okay. Firebolts. Maybe I'm gonna swap that. See how that goes, because then it's a bit quicker. Maybe not. No. Okay. Right, so what have we got again? I got the boomerang spells, so I'll go all-seeing eye this time. So I guess everything is... You can see everything.
Yeah, so that like kind of breaks the game, right? Like,
yeah.
So in some senses.
Yeah, so I guess this is the closest. Like, I guess Cosmic Encounter kind of almost feels like a roguelike, you know? That bloody thing. Right, so I need to try and remember, like, not to go down that way, because that's... I'm gonna go right. Even though the game it's really okay, so I want to show you, like, I'm gonna go right. Because everything the game there's a shop. I didn't even know there were shops in the game.
You can't afford any of that.
No. Oh, God. This is a dead end. Bloody monkey. What's that?
It almost looks like a treasure chest, but
Yeah.
would also be lava.
I can fit through here. Yes.
That means the flaming skull can fit through there.
Yeah. Oh. Yeah. Isn't good. If I could get.
Oh, maybe you can't.
No, I was thinking I can get the water through and then maybe mine down. It's quite a lot of coal. Did I come this way before? Can't have, because I didn't see.
No, you didn't see the shop.
So like yeah, like I've got lava, haven't I? It's like we need to try kind of think about like, do we need to balance like the panels we're making at home? I guess is like how do like for us balance would be making it feel like you don't need to use a specific type of weapon.
Yeah. So I'm just getting distracted by you sniping the skull.
Yeah.
So that's a really good question. I think there will be a tipping point where it's less of a problem based on the number of panels that become available to, in the game. And I think that's, my example, I think I've gone to a couple of times on stream is Enter the Gungeon, which is kind of very similar in many respects to this, just without the simulation element. Where there are so many guns in that game that, like, they're just not balanced. But you don't mind so much because of the roguelike elements that we're talking about, and because that variety is fun in of itself. Like, so if we have enough panels, I think we can get away with. We can't afford any of those either.
No. Did I not get this far before?
No.
No. Toxic slug immunity, worm attractor. I don't know what this worm attractor stuff is all about. Could try that.
It says it's got a like a heart over it.
Yeah, I don't know. Oh, that's because it's kind of right. So I went right last time and got completely killed. So, but there's a. But that way doesn't look good either.
I think there are enemies whichever way.
Well, I suppose lava is like I could totally like lava that up. Right? Surely lava melts ice.
I mean, usually, but presumably there is a point at which it doesn't.
What are you talking about?
Based on how much ice there is versus how much lava there is.
The ice is cool, like the lava is being like
cooled into rock. Yeah.
How do they make that glow? I've always like wondered how glow affects that. That went. Oh no, not that thing. Can't go up that height. Those things are like really annoying. How do you make something look like it's glowing? What is this?
Interesting. It's. That's a really good question. I don't know if I'm honest, but I'm gonna guess. All right.
Yeah.
I'm gonna guess. I think part of it will be pure color. Those are just very bright versions of blue, very bright versions of yellow, orange, whatever, like the fire color is, right? Often like contrasted with, very closely with darker colors, so that or darker hues of that color, so that it kind of feels and looks like it's not just bright, but it is glowing. But it could also be things to do with brightness and hue that they are playing with in whatever they're generating that pixel in.
Okay. What? Oh god. What are all these things I'm finding here? Like,
they look like ships, don't they? To me.
Yeah. Oh, here's the thing.
The-
Here's the thing. Oh no!
No way.
Yeah, there was like the lava I dropped. There was one
Oh,
pixel
no.
of lava.
Were you killed by your own lava there?
Yes, I was killed by him.
Oh, brilliant! That's brilliant. That's our clip for the week, everyone. Mark that. That's 9:05. Sean killed by his own lava right at the exit.
One more run.
That's how the roguelikes go.
Yeah. Yeah. It's good. The other thing is how sharp, how like really. Should I do the daily run or should I do not a daily run?
Chef's choice.
I'm gonna go for not a daily run because I think this is actually like I'm struggling with this particular role. I think that's my excuse anyway.
No, well, yeah,
So
that
this
did sound like an excuse.
Yeah. You said at the start before we started there was a question you were going to ask me, or is that the question you asked me at the start of like why?
Yeah,
came back to
that's
this?
it. I was
Okay.
like, why are we back to Noita? Which I think is
Oh look! So look! It's different.
Ah,
So I don't know because you don't. Can't dig down there, right?
mm-hmm.
Okay. So like I could, yeah, I can't get.
Mm-hmm. Can't get down there now.
Yeah, but you can. So there's an interesting thing I've heard that you can get. There are ways of getting. So you go into that thing where you collect all your perks and stuff.
Yeah.
You can find a way back in there by digging your way in. But I've not tried that. I destroy any of this. So dense rock, soil. So soil's diggable. But like 1 pixel at a time kind of
Yeah,
stuff.
super slowly.
But the level exists underneath here.
Mm-hmm.
Which is kind of interesting. So something else interesting they do. If you're interested in the kind of tech of this, there's a GDC talk where they talk about it, but they're not simulating the whole world. Like they're simulating, they're essentially doing what's called streaming, where they're simulating the world where they believe it matters around you.
Mm-hmm.
So you get an illusion that the world exists all around everywhere, but it doesn't. It exists, but it's not being. Oh man! Oh no! Oh, what? I'm not going to go down there. Take this bomb. Where did that go?
I don't know if
There.
this is just the way you play roguelikes, but I think it is also the way I think a lot of people play their roguelikes. It does do an interesting thing about players' relationships to enemies, because, like in a lot of games, you're looking for enemies.
Yeah.
Right? Roguelikes, you don't want to see any enemies, right? Or is that like the wrong way to play it?
So it depends.
Because you're not getting money.
You're not
if
getting
you don't
money,
kill.
but then like you don't get that much money for a kill. Yeah, so what did I get for that? 10 gold. So you actually get more money for killing people by making stuff fall on them.
Okay.
So this is what. So okay. Something interesting about this game as well. Like lots of interesting stuff. This is one of those games where you said about not much tutorialization. He killed himself. A lot of it is like you discover through wikis. You know, like this idea that it's all free discover. You know, you discover it. They're not telling you this. You have to be looking at the numbers to realize that you get more gold when this thing happens. You know. And I think you're buying into that when you buy a game like this, potentially.
I think there's certainly a culture of slightly buying into that whenever you pick up an indie game versus a AAA game.
Yeah.
That you're not going to have everything handheld for you. But yeah, I think that obviously that can be pushed too far.
Oh, what's that? That's cool.
And like you said, anything that stops. Interesting. Anything that stops a player playing is not a positive. You can't.
No. I think also it's about when you it's about when you introduce those systems that are hard. Well, not hard, but a bit opaque.
Yeah. When and how? Yeah.
Yeah.
Both very important.
Because like
your
I think,
lanterns stop working. It's weird. They're like, are they supposed to pull through them?
Oh, shh. So, like, for example, with making it home, we realised, like, we always had this concept of you have a choice of 2 panels when you start. But what we didn't realise is we ended up, one of those panels is probably the most difficult panels to use.
Yeah.
Long distance cast, chainsaw, triple scatter shot, burning trail. What do we go for? I'm probably not gonna use any of them because. Well, no, I'm gonna put that right. Bombs are kind of useful, but like, problem is I'm gonna leave my bombs. I kind of need. I think bombs are really useful to have.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna stick with them and not spend my money here. But that's an interesting decision. You know, that decision I had to make is interesting, right? Right, what's this? Saving grace. That sounds like something that would give me an extra life. If you would die and have more than 1 H point, your health point is set to 1 instead. Okay, that isn't quite what I was expecting, but okay, I'll take it. Right, so I think I've noticed when I start, there's always like I can go down, or I can go left, or I can go right. These things. These bats are something else. Yeah. And that's going to be on
that's
there.
number one.
Get ready for boom. Maybe?
Wow, fire's just gone around that barrel.
Well, it's a metal barrel, like, so theory, maybe fire doesn't met. Okay, I'm not going that way. Was that thing alive?
Yeah. I mean, I don't think you've killed something down. Oh no, maybe not. Huh. It's weird. Oh, no. I was about to say, did the barrel kill it? Maybe it did. Maybe the barrel landed on it.
Yeah, good. Try and kick it out of the way. Come on. Oh, there's like a rock fell on it. I think. I need to drop a bomb down here, but... Come on, out, 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 out. Oh, that was the wrong... Okay, I didn't mean to do that, but... That kinda... Ooh.
Oh yeah, there you go.
I think I want to go that way. I want to go that way. Feel like going too far. Something on fire. Oh no! 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 Bye. The problem is those things they slime you, and then you can't jump as high, which is very tricky.
It's problematic.
Oh no! I'm in a.
Dead end.
Come on. Yes.
Get away with this.
Yeah, you see, that should be the moment of the week.
No. We've already got our clip. Don't worry about it. There's literally nothing you can do that would top you dying to your own lava.
So I played the truck game last night with a friend.
And
we
yeah, how'd that
tried
go?
to, like, it went alright for a bit, and then we drove. It was quite nice because it was all persistent from the end of that stream, and so we both drove in our trucks to try and save my truck that I lost, but then it fell over.
So would you say you wasted yet more time trying to do...
No, because it was fun. It's really good co-op. Anyway,
I just wanted to know, like, if you'd achieved anything, like, as in...
No.
Okay, cool.
We just, other than losing another truck, which is kind of an achievement.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that's Noita.
That's Noita, but
That's
as Noita revisited after
I love
some
it.
time away.
Something I didn't get around to saying actually is it was. I think for me, this is a game. I know I keep saying. I'm not apologizing for it, but I think something I've been thinking about a lot is like, what games do I play and what games do I not play? Like, what do I stick with? And like, I think this is a game where I will probably play it. Like, jump in and just try the daily, because it's kind of a really low effort. It doesn't feel like the stakes are very high.
Yeah.
I think that's really nice. And I like the core game, and then also add in that very easy, I click a button, I click play, and I'm playing. I think is really powerful in getting someone to come back and play a game. And I think that's something maybe we need to think about. Well, we have been thinking about making at home, right? Is like, how can there be this really low effort mode? Like like this, you just click new game and you're playing.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, and we've got our challenge modes at the moment that kind of, I think, will scratch that itch for quite a few players.
Any more thoughts about this, or we?
No, but it is nice to come back and see some of the differences, and to have you at the helm instead of me. Yeah, I think that's
cool.
a nice. Obviously not appropriate for every game we play, but
yeah, I think so. So yeah, thanks Dave, thanks everyone for coming. And
cheers, Sean.
Yeah, where can people find us? What should people do?
People should go to pillbug.zone and find out all about us, and they can sign up for the beta of Making It Home at pillbug.zone by signing up to our mailing list.
Yeah. Cool. Thanks, Dave. Thanks, everybody.
Cheers, Sean. Bye.
I'm just going to go die and get killed by a thing. Just like there's oil. This is what I mean. There's like this oil here, and I want to see it blow up. Like, there we go. Thanks, Dave.
Cheers, Sean.